Hello everyone, I'm Xiao Gang. Okay, next we'll write our TTS proxy. Since we've already written a lot before, you should be quite familiar with it now. So let's just start writing it step by step. We need to be a bit more concise. First, we prepare a dynamic multicast delegate as our pin. I won't bother changing the name, let's just keep it as is. Then we need to make two forward declarations here. Obviously, these two forward declarations use our WebSocket and USoundWave. Because we need to include them in the source file, we make forward declarations like this. Once we have this delegate, then we prepare 4 pins. These 4 pins, to be precise, 5 pins. These 5 pins represent the process we execute separately. Such a process, that is, we expose these 5 pins to the outside. When it triggers certain events, it executes. So with these 5 pins, we definitely need to prepare the places that call these 5 pins. The first pin doesn't need to be handled because the first pin is for us to use blueprint. We will call it immediately. So there's no need to execute it one step later. And we can't let it execute in one step. We must let it execute in the next frame, not called the next frame. It means the next step will execute this pin. And the other 4 pins are all things we need to do in one step. Okay, let's copy this method over. Okay, let's copy this method over here. And this is our audio object synthesis success, or audio object synthesis failure. And this is for our synthesis, our local file, because sometimes it might synthesize, sometimes it might not. So this part is to write a method. So these 3 are handled like this here. Then we'll definitely make this method protected, because we don't need it to be called from blueprint. Okay, no problem. As for this thing inside here, it's actually quite simple. We'll execute it step by step. We haven't written it yet. We'll write it out when we use it later. Let's write the framework first. Then we need to execute and give it to Weibo. Look, give this to Weibo. We've extracted these 5 methods. So why these 5 methods? Because in the previous chapter we explained, when we talked about your proxy, you need to bind these 5 proxies. So here we just directly copy them over. We don't need to make up anything now. Let's create it first. It should be here. Let's create this side as well. Okay, good. So after creating it like this, we are all empty. We don't care about them. So the same applies to our situation. We need to release this resource immediately, because we will store customized resources here. If you don't have this method, some problems may occur. So we need to write the first release method. Then we write, similarly, we write this again. Close this socket and force close this socket and create socket. So these 3 methods actually correspond to our socket. But we do not expose these 2 methods. We do not expose these methods because we use it internally and we won't allow it to force a shutdown, because we are worried it might have some issues. At this point, we still need to prepare some information. So basically, this method is roughly like this. We haven't written it yet. Let's first prepare all our variables. We will just guide everyone through writing it step by step. And then first, we already have this batch of ID secrets and such. Then we give it a boolean, that is whether we want to locally save the WA file. If we want to save it, then we definitely need a path. There is a path. Then at this point, when we make the request, we definitely have a require info. So this info, we haven't written it yet. Then let's define it. Let's put this info here. I'll just paste it directly here. Okay, this is the information we need to request. So how is this information obtained? I'll paste it directly here. You can also paste it directly. There shouldn't be any issues. Okay, note to change the import here. Okay, I'll put this place, dab it a bit. Okay, good. So this thing actually requested such information. Well, it corresponds to this document. Actually, it's this information. This is the common bin data, and here there are some optional parameters. Finally, you send it out. Don't look at how long it is. It's too much. It's too tiring to look at. When you send it out, it's just such a string, okay? And there's a pitfall here. Because this place has a default value of JPK, so the default value here is JPK. This is a pitfall. It doesn't tell you what the default value is, right? And if you don't pass anything, it will be this. Either this GB2312 or GBK. In the English you pass, you can compile it normally. If you pass Chinese, then congratulations, it won't work. So here UTF-8 must be forced to be UTF-8. Okay, so for this document, I'll just give you a quick overview. There's really nothing much to say. It's still this authentication method. It's the same as our PNG image authentication method. It's host data, authorization, this type of authentication. Just need to concatenate it. As for this authentication method, we'll guide you through writing it. Because we have written it before, we can directly call the interface we wrote after it's concatenated. Actually, it's URL. This URL looks like this. See, it is placed on this URL. This is the authentication token he pieced together. After he pieces it together, his URL looks like this. You can see, no problem. Then his information is in this. It is sent like this. This information is here. If it passes authentication through the parameters on this URL, authentication pass. If it does not pass, then it is a level 1 service message. Just returning this error thing is enough. If the authentication passes, then you only need to send this review request once. Send this review request to it. This review request is just this review request. Then after sending it, it will continuously send this binary data over. So that's the situation. We're going a bit fast here. But it shouldn't affect anything. This one returned binary data. We are mainly concerned about this actual field. This field is the audio data encoded with basics 4. We need to decode it. Okay, and these are all quite similar things. We won't repeat them. Okay, so these 3 correspond to three JSON objects. Then we might need to rename this TTS. Okay, rename it here. Then I'll copy them over one by one for everyone, so it's easier for you to see what each one is. First, we still need to include the reflection file. This reflection file should be here. Okay, this is its reflection file. We haven't changed the H yet. Let's click on the dirt. Okay, good. First, we copied over this APPID. This APPID is such a field. It corresponds to the first object. The second one, we'll copy this over too and change it here. The second one is our wireless. You can see that this wireless actually specifies the speakers, some speech rate and intonation, and some detailed issues. And note that we are using PCM for meet here. We won't use these because these require using the training library. Only then can you compress the fields like this. That's quite troublesome. We don't want to do it this way. Okay. This is MP3. We won't use MP3 either. This specifies the audio sample rate. We'll just use 16K. For the rest, we'll keep the defaults. Here you can adjust the pronunciation mode. For example, if you want to say 1 million, do you want it pronounced as 1 million? Or as 1 million? So this pronunciation is this way of asking, then this word. It is how to judge its context. Do you pronounce it abundant or ABCD? Abundant in the style of abandoned. So these 2 parameters can be controlled. Okay, so let's copy this over. Okay, you'll notice that some of these are protected. So why are there some protected fields? It's you. How do you extract this code? You can directly call it from our GitHub. Or you can directly take our plugin, call it inside the component. You can just call it directly inside the component. Once this file is written, we won't touch it anymore. This is called a protected field. Because we don't want users to modify it, this is something we do. So we neither exposed it to Blueprint, and after protecting it, you cannot modify it at the C++ level either. At the C++ level, you can only make a field like public or in Blueprint. This way you can see this field in Blueprint and modify it. And the public you can use at the C++ level. Go see it and modify it. Okay, let's quickly go over it. This is the BNS segment. Nothing much to say about it. Okay, look here. We emphasize this UTF-8. This is a very tricky thing. Google, I tried for a long time to get it to work. So if you encounter a similar situation, you can also make a judgment. Just first compile it in all English, then compile it in Chinese. And this one is for sending this data. This is the text. This is the text data. And this is the status. Because it is a fixed type, because yours is not streaming, you just send it all at once. So it's status 2. Then for our communication, the required info is already written for everyone. You can directly check it in our courseware. This is fine. After writing it, let's go back to our place here. Then here, we definitely have a required info. So that's okay. No problem. Next, we will have a WebSocket. Because this is an asynchronous blueprint node, one asynchronous blueprint node corresponds to one WebSocket. So here we have a WebSocket, then we have a binary data here. And this data is what Shuangfei sent to us. It comes in segments. We need to decode all the segments of data into binary put it into this position, put it into this position, and this is the text we want to synthesize. We can give it an empty string, okay? All right, so at this point, let me write some different code for you. Right here, we won't change the exam room either. Then in this place, we need another forcing line. Then it's about forcing that point, because our site here is a very simple get set. So this place is just to provide a few methods to modify it, right? And then this is just, anyway, it feels a bit like this kind of unnecessary action. It can only be said that the engine really likes to write it this way, and we also write it this way here. Basically, all our things are ready. After everything is ready, there's no need to emphasize what functions each of them performs. Then let's write our most core method. The most core method is, we need to write it like this. Okay, so we delete this public because we didn't write the library here. We still, if on the C++ level, you remove it. You need to manually activate it. That is, you must. If you're on the C++ level, you need to manually activate it. It's Blueprint. You don't need to bother, because Blueprint will directly activate it for you. Because it returns this pointer, it will do it. Then the name of this place, we can change it. This name needs to be changed. If we don't change it, I'm worried it might conflict with the plugin. Okay, then let's use this name, and we'll leave these comments alone. Okay, now let's create the implementation of this method. Okay, let's press enter here. Let's do it one by one. Okay. Then after we come in, regardless, when we purchase this, we all force it to close. This says waxing, because there might be some potential issues. We say that here, we all force it to close the WSOC. Okay, we won't write the content inside for now. Let's start step by step from the positive direction. First of all, we definitely need to save this key information. Right. I didn't add a tag here. This world content object, because if it comes in from Blueprint, it's definitely fine. If it comes in from the C++ level, if you pass some control pins, pass some random stuff, that might cause problems. This place is for everyone. Everyone knows this situation exists. That's all. Then we leave an object here. We'll leave it out first. Only then can we copy it. Right. Let's call it asset action. Okay. Good. This should be the APPID. Good. This is an operation we've done many times. Then we'll do it here. Set all these parameters into it. Then it's also very simple. Just save these parameters. Is it necessary to locally? What is our synthesized text? Then whether it needs to be saved locally, then whether it is this path and its request information. Then here we take this thing. The most important step. Don't miss it, because if you miss this thing, there will be obvious problems. This must be registered to our root. If you don't register it to the root, then this thing will be destructed and released. This will cause your audio data to fail to synthesize. So this step is very important. So when we register here, then we go to our release. This resource area, then we must release it. So what resources do we need to release? First of all, actually, you don't need to write it this way, because this is all on the stack. The life cycle of this thing will automatically release this string. But we don't need to write this way, but I'm personally used to it. And here, we also clear the string. Then set this word to false. Then also set this path to false. Then also release the required info of this request. After releasing it, we also clear all these delegates. As you can see, check here if one is missing. It should be missing one. This one should also be cleared. Put it here. This is wrong. It should be this one. It might be missing here. This part is actually a bit redundant. Actually, it's fine not to write it. But we still develop the habit. Just apply for whatever resources you need yourself. Just put it there. And here it directly resets the repo socket. Then we are here if we are empty. We empty this thing. And at the same time, we unregister this thing from the root. That's it. Then close and false close. How does it work? Close is actually very simple. It just needs to close the switch chart. Since we include WebSocket here, we need to include the header file here. This head pattern piece is also a lot. First, let's include the which expect stuff. And then secondly, let's include our connection converter. Then let's include this. This one we will use in a moment. Then we have some miscellaneous items. Let's include them. These are some miscellaneous items, including some of our paths, perhaps because we need to do local text, reading, writing, and decoding. That is basics for encoding and decoding. And this one. What is this file? This is the branch previously explained to everyone that it is used for encoding format processing. Then we also need to include this, the SoundWave object. Secondly, we also need to include version information. This is exactly where version information is encountered. So let me explain how to handle the engine cross-version issue. And this oblique should be... I don't know where I copied it from. We haven't covered it yet. The public is actually quite complex because it involves UE's package mechanism. If you want to learn about it, go check out the official Unreal Engine live stream. Let me search for it for you. Anyway, this part is not a big issue. Let's just search here. We say Unreal Engine, then click on Users, then click here, because actually, many official materials are in English. It's it's rare for you to be able to find here Chinese live streams. That is this set. This set should be a bit earlier. Let's show everyone. Anyway, there's something about ultimate skills inside. That is, as long as there are ultimate skills here, you should go and learn them all, including the Jihu articles on the ultimate move. The Jihu articles on the ultimate move, this one article, you can see... Okay, let's not let it autoplay. Right, anyway, you just need to see this one with the ultimate move. You just take this. Read through all dozens of issues, and it's the same on Jihu. On Zihu, you take this ultimate move. We'll still show everyone. Look, let me talk about it, because it happens to be expanded here. Because this, okay, we haven't emphasized it to him yet. This place, user. Yes, these dozens of articles on this big move, that is, whether you are employed or working. You should need to read all 40 articles. This is completely fine. Okay. So after reading them, if you can understand all of this, then your understanding of art is actually is pretty impressive. Okay, we finished reporting the same file here. What is the difference between our forced shutdown here? Forced shutdown. We just need to directly release this part here. Yes, just call shutdown, then forced shutdown. Okay, this part might be a bit noisy. Okay, here, when we are absorbing purchasing, we need to forcibly close it. Okay, now let's enter our NVTT. In NVTT, we need to do a lot of work. First, we need to call this parent class method, right? Then next, we need to execute this arbitrary angle. Okay, right. Then before this execution, we first do an asynchronous and asynchronous thing, because we know that when we are asynchronous, we need to let it. Next week, we will execute this active intel. This part just tells you we are still processing it. Next week, we will actually handle this matter. Okay. Here we will go through each one to explain to you the details of this part, how we are going to handle it.